I'm John from Great Lakes Country, and today we're making the most amazing smoked cheddar jalapeno cornbread. That's right, we're not just making everyday, ordinary cornbread. We're making jalapeno cheddar cornbread because why wouldn't we? And if that wasn't enough, we're going to be cooking the whole thing in the offset smoker. Why? Because it's great. And is there anything that goes with barbecue quite as well as a nice slice of cornbread? This cornbread recipe is perfectly moist on the inside, lightly crisp on the underside, golden brown on the top, and the way we're doing it, it's gonna have a hint of jalapeno and cheddar all throughout. And baked in the smoker, it'll have the faintest little overtone of some great smoky flavor as well, which I personally happen to think makes it even better. Anyway, enough of the intro, let's get right into it and make this beautiful smoked cornbread. Today we're going to be using the Oklahoma Joe Combo Offset Smoker. This is my tiny little offset smoker that I use for probably 70% of my smoking. Anyway, I'll get a chimney full of some good lump hardwood charcoal lit up. Then into the firebox it goes, along with a couple little chunks of hardwood. Today, as with most days, I'm using oak. Get the chimney wide open, let the smoker start coming up to temperature, and in the meantime, we can put together our cornbread batter. And it's really quite simple. We'll start with 8 tablespoons of butter that I've melted in the microwave, but then let cool for just a little bit, so it's not screaming hot, but still melted. And into a big bowl that goes. Next in goes 2 beaten eggs and a half cup of white sugar. I'll give all of that just a preliminary little mix with the whisk here before adding in 1 cup of yellow cornmeal, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, half teaspoon baking soda, half teaspoon salt. Again, I'll just give everything a little bit of a light mix, kind of start incorporating the butter and the eggs and all those dry ingredients before adding in 1 cup of whole milk. Now get all of that stirred together until it's pretty smooth. If there's a little bit of lumps in there, that's okay, but I'd say I want it almost entirely smooth. And that's looking pretty good to me, but I build this video as a jalapeno cheddar cornbread. So of course we need to add some shredded cheddar cheese. This is 1/2 cup, and some finely chopped jalapeno. This is about 1/3 cup. So, of course, get all of that mixed into the batter. You can go heavier on the cheese or the jalapeno if you want, but if you go too heavy, you risk starting to compromise the integrity of the batter, meaning you've got a lot of cheese that's gonna melt, jalapeno bits that are gonna release moisture. It's gonna change the consistency of the batter, and it may not rise and set quite properly when you go to cook it. But I think this combination right here is a very good balance. And now our batter is done. Now let's talk about our cooking vessel. For cornbread, you can kind of use whatever you want. Sometimes I use a pie pan or an ordinary round cake pan. You can make it in the shape of a bread loaf with a loaf pan. But generally my go-to pan for cornbread is just my trusty 10-inch cast iron skillet. It's the perfect size, the perfect shape, got a handle, what's not to like? And I am going to grease this skillet just a little bit with some oil. Use a little bit of butter, use non-stick cooking spray, use whatever you like. Just get a little bit of lubrication in that pan. And make sure you go all the way up the sides. You know how to grease a pan, I don't gotta tell you. Now, simply enough, in goes our batter. Definitely scrape down the sides, try to get as much of that goodness as you can into the pan. No need to spread or smear it around with a spatula. Cornbread batter, for the most part, is self-leveling. Now at this point, it's ready to go into the oven or the smoker. But I am gonna add one last little final touch. And that's a little bit more of that shredded cheddar sprinkled on top. Because it's gonna look pretty, it's gonna taste good, so why wouldn't we? Now with the smoker heated up to 375 degrees, in goes the skillet. And I'm gonna let this bake / smoke for the next about 35 minutes. That's when I'll check on it, that's when I'll do the toothpick test, and I'm gonna do my best to maintain that temperature as close to the 375 degrees as possible for that entire time. And after 35 minutes, we've got a lightly golden brown top, toothpicks coming out perfectly clean, so that means our cornbread is done cooking. So I'll just get that pan out of there, set it out on the counter for a little while. You definitely want to give it a good 25-30 minutes to let the temperature inside of that cornbread come down. It's gonna set up a little better, it's gonna cut better, it's gonna serve better without falling apart so much. And after what is probably one of the easiest cooks you could possibly do, we can finally slice in and try out some of this amazing jalapeno cheddar cornbread. Moist and soft in the middle, and then little jalapenos in there. Just a light little bit of a crust on the back and bottom. That right there is, in my opinion, about the most perfect slice of cornbread I've ever seen. But let's see how it tastes. God, I love cornbread. It's so easy to make. About the only tricky part, or part that you have to be kind of particular about, is making sure it's cooked all the way through, but not overcooked, because you don't want to dry it out. Lightly sweet, lightly smoky, just a hint of that jalapeno, a nice little cheddar undertone to the whole thing. There's nothing wrong with regular old cornbread, but if you want something a little extra special, try this version. I need another bite. Just look at that cake-like interior. God, it's just perfect. Did I need to make it on the smoker? No, of course not. An oven would have been just fine, and arguably a lot easier. But just that slightest, faintest hint of smoke, I think brings something to it, especially when I'm making my jalapeno version. If you like cornbread, you gotta try this recipe. And of course, I'll put a link to the full written out recipe for this exact cornbread in the video description below. In the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future cooking, bread making, and of course, barbecue videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm John, and this is Great Lakes Country.